go, guys. Welcome back to the Suit Up Geek Fix podcast. I'm Amanda from the Six. That is Dibes with me tonight from Philly, and we are going to break down episode 1 of She-Hulk, and it's going to be every single Thursday because Star Wars is taking the place on Wednesdays with Andor at the end of September, so that's why we had little switchy McGee that they did to us, but Thursdays are fun. It's almost the weekend, and we're going to be here every single Thursday reviewing She-Hulk. So we're going to get right into it. My personal first impression with this, I really wanted to like it. I absolutely love Tatiana Maslany. She's Canadian, so why wouldn't I love her? For me, right? Iman Vellani, Simu Liu, we're taking over. It's like the best thing ever that's happening to Marvel. But for me, with She-Hulk, I wanted to like it. That's the issue. And I love Tatiana. She's knocking it out of the park. And I think she's really elevating whatever they have. But for me, it's really difficult. Hey, Kaylin, thanks for coming by. I just think that the humor is what's really holding it back. And that is like my first impression. The first time I watched this, I'm like, it has to be funny. It's a legal show. First off, it's a sitcom, and that's who Jennifer Walters is. And it's like, if it wasn't for Tatiana being such a superstar, I don't think the humor would have worked whatsoever. So that's how I'm feeling about this first episode. We'll get into it, but Dibes, I know I told you right off the bat, I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna like this. And now I get to hear your thoughts about this.
Yeah, let me say this beforehand. I love Miss Marvel. So I'm coming off of a show in Miss Marvel that, man, that you called well beforehand how that it was like one of my favorites. And it was. I absolutely adored Miss Marvel and Kamala and her family and all that kind of stuff. I've never been excited for She-Hulk. It was never kind of on my most anticipated list. And it was a show that has never had my attention. And I got to say the premiere was kind of average. And for me, I kept on waiting for the premiere to like pick up, but it kind of didn't go anywhere. It was kind of nice to kind of hear about what Tony and Bruce were up to during the blip. I think the biggest part for me is that I just don't relate to the main character. I'm sure Tatiana Maslany is an amazing actress. I've never seen her in anything else but this. I'm sorry, Amanda, but
that's okay.
I just didn't get it. I thought the humor, like you said, really lacked. I only laughed once, and that was the post-credit scene. And I didn't really care for the trying to Hulk sequence between Bruce and Jen. I was kind of disappointed with how Jen got her powers. Everything felt a little lazy, especially the writing. Everything, just as it predicted. Like it was kind of the love child between like Ally McBeal and Boston Legal meets the MCU. And if you like those shows, that is 100% fine. And I give props to the MCU for going for this sitcom style. Absolutely. I think they're doing a really good job setting the tone for that, especially with Walter's character. But, for me, I thought the comedy was a big miss. Nothing about the show seems groundbreaking. It's only the first episode. It screams as pure filler, and I didn't see any kind of substance that got me hooked for episode 2. So for me, it was average. It just was.
I know. And like, as you said before with Miss Marvel, for me, it's like you're coming off such a high. So it feels kind of like the WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier comparison. It does. And like, that's what it feels like with a lot of people. And no, I completely agree. There's like no substance, and it comes down to the writing, which is so tough. And also on top of that, for me, if you're breaking the fourth wall, this is my issue with this. And we're going to talk about humor and who Jennifer Walters is. If you're breaking the fourth wall, you have to do it like more frequently than they did within this first episode. Like, you're talking to the audience at the beginning, once in the middle, and then at the end. And I don't think that is a level that you would be breaking the fourth wall and talking to the audience. And that's what I was struggling with, considering that we've seen Deadpool. Not that I want to make that comparison, but he was talking to us the entire time. What Caitlin says, I think the chemistry between Jennifer and Bruce works well. That was my favorite part of this episode. But I understand, like, with the training sequence, how she got her powers, I was very confused. I'm not a comic book reader. I didn't know if that happened in the comics or not, but I was like, why? Like, why would that happen? And it just felt very convenient at the time. Again, like, got more backstory on Bruce and Tony's friendship and his grief, 100%, but I still think like that was brushed aside. And also, this is supposed to be technically the 8th episode, and they put it as the pilot, which I don't understand how they would rearrange that placement, right, Dives? Like, how do you feel about even like knowing that? Like, I feel like the showrunners have really just exposed themselves on all levels and how they constructed this, because even the writers said like, I have no knowledge in like legal drama or how to write those scenes for trials and all of that. So I don't know, I feel like the legal terminology too wasn't that strong either, but
that kind of makes me worried. That kind of makes me worried that the next few episodes are kind of slow down a lot, and they'll probably be all in like Jen's POV, where she's going through like court cases and legal drama and things like that. That has me kind of worried. It sounds like this is probably like the highest paced episode that we'll find, at least to start off here, before it kind of finds its footing. I'm a little worried about that. I did not know that, so that is kind of really interesting. And Caitlin says got more backstory on Bruce and Tony's friendship. How about when you saw Bruce and Tony? I think it was BB and TS written on the bar. That was really cute to see that.
It was really nice. Yeah,
I like that a lot. I fully agree, Caitlin. Bruce and Jen's chemistry saved this episode. Absolutely saved this episode. I thought everything else was pretty mediocre, and if it wasn't for Mark Ruffalo and Tatiana's acting, and just they just had that vibe of family, and I thought that was really well done.
And I like that she's like the younger cousin, he's looking out for her, like that type of thing. And like before the show even started, we saw and Caitlin says, I mean, Jen's right when talking to us, you're probably not going to enjoy the show until you know how I get Hulk powers. And it's like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's like, then we see it. I actually have to admit, when she first phases up, it kind of reminded me like Lou Ferrigno Hulk when you see the reflection in the car. I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. And speaking of like CGI special effects, from the trailer to the show, like, do you think there's a difference? Was it worse for you, Dibes? Like, it worked, or?
I thought it was better. There are definitely times when like she's moving around and stuff, it looks clunky a little bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I'll say that was better. I saw it and it looked bad from the jump, from the trailers and things like that. At least on my end, I don't know about your thoughts, but I thought it wasn't as bad as I expected.
Yeah, I thought it was better. If it looked more polished. I do think that the issue is, and Caitlin says, I didn't mind the CGI. I don't pay too much attention to that, which is fair. I mean, you're invested in the story, the characters 100%. But there was just so much backlash on Twitter because of the CGI in the trailer. Yeah. For me, I think it's the eyes. Because I think there's like the CGI is on the eyes on top of that. And then Mark Ruffalo's isn't. It's like his brown eyes. So that's what I think the difference is in movement. But I like the training sequences, that they were a lot of fun, really playful. I guess we can go into like favorite moments if you had any. Dives, if you had any in this episode.
My list of problems is like here. my list of favorite moments is I really do appreciate the Bing Bong reference from Inside Out, when Jen's character brought up like that sad moment. Top-notch sad moment. Man, that's one of Pixar's most sad moments, when Bing Bong and everything else is like crumbling all around. But it was the post-credit scene. That was really funny. Yeah. That was really funny. That probably saved me from just like forgetting about this show moving forward. That was pretty funny.
It was good. That's why I'm wearing the hat today. So, good
Outside of that, what about you?
For me, I think my favorite moment was like so simple. It's when she was disoriented, I think the second time when she blacked out, and then she ended up at the bar. And as a woman and the female experience, she walked into the bathroom, and then there was all these girls like, oh my God, are you okay? And then they're like putting makeup on her and helping her out and everything. I'm like, this is authentic to the female experience. I was like, oh my God, it's like the cutest moment. And it was so simple. And then you see the backlash on social media where it's like, there's a feminist agenda. They're beating you over the head with it. And it's like, but that's also authentic to the female experience. Like, this happens to us. We do that in the bathroom. We go outside. And it's like, that's what ends up happening. It was the cutest moment. But then also, like, going out in contrast, and I think they did this extremely well in this first episode, is to show the female experience in the workplace and to like have her express that. And like, that's also important. I don't think it was overly, but the moment outside when those guys were approaching her and then she's like, oh, wait a minute, I can phase up and just like beat these guys and like it's fine. And then she blacked out again. Like, the contrast there to show like the difference was really something that I was happy about in this episode. And that's pretty much it, or else like this thing was, see, Caitlin, thank you for loving the bathroom scene. Also drunk to other girls in the bathroom at the club. Yes, girl, you know, we know the vibes. And whether we're crying or laughing or there's a cute outfit, it was authentic and they nailed it. But from what I want to talk about too, because it was a negative for me and it's a negative for you too, Dives, this isn't our typical MCU humor. And I don't know why it's not the same. Like, you go watch Thor Love and Thunder and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's typical MCU. But this just feels like it's not consistent. And then I feel like the jokes aren't landing. Like, there should be a laugh box in typical sitcom, you know, and then you can hear the laugh box with the audience. But like, I don't know what the difference is. Did you feel the same way where like it's completely out there?
Yeah, I think that's the writing. I don't think it's her timing. I thought there were some moments that they were cute, but like, yeah, there wasn't any like there was a burping sequence. Like, yeah, what are we doing here? Yeah. What do we? I think that's the problem. Is there's just no substance.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe it's a small sample size. We have many episodes to kind of dig into the comedy aspect of this show. I knew going into the show it was going to be a sitcom. You confirmed that before this morning. So going into this, I knew that I was not going to be the demographic for this. I've never liked Ally McBeal. I've never liked Boston Legal. Yeah, it's fine. But here we are. Can I go into my problems? But first of all,
I was just about to ask you.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I did not see this. Caitlin says Chris Evans' reaction on Twitter. No, I've been busy.
Oh yeah, I laughed.
That is so funny. Oh my god, that was 7 hours ago. I wish I didn't have a job.
I should have sent it in the chat.
That's so funny. Oh,
I died. You know what I love though, Dives, is that he's still like interacting with every single show and he's speaking on it. Like, he's so great. But yeah, by all means, get into your negatives because I'm pretty sure we're going to be on the same page with that too.
Yeah, that's really fun. I respect the fact that nobody knows about Steve marrying my girl. I like that. That's kind of like still under wraps that no one knows that, and I think that's pretty cool. I respect the hell out of that. All right, so going into problems.
Yeah,
I've got a lot. I hate the idea of making Bruce Banner's Hulk strictly a punchline. It bothers me so much. The Hulk has gone through a decade of trauma and pain and turmoil and loss. He had the hottest of the hotties in the MCU want to settle down with him and start a relationship in Black Widow. Do you remember that in Age of Ultron? Yeah. He shut it down. He was like, I don't want to like risk any of that kind of family stuff because I'm just too unstable. And the MCU's response to that, Tatiana's response to that is bad girls do it better. Or like who's that girl? Like, I hate that. It actually hinders her character a little bit for me because I love the Hulk. The idea of knocking down the Hulk for the sake of a terrible joke does not go well with me. And like, basically Jen going through everything the Hulk has gone through in a matter of like 2 to 5 minutes is a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face for this character. And the response of that, the explanation here is, oh, she's just different. It does not vibe. It does not vibe for me whatsoever. Yeah. I get it. It's a Disney Plus show and they don't want to waste time and they want to get this show rolling. But for me, I think it's pretty freaking lame that they made her character possibly as strong as Banner, clearly mentally stronger. And the fact that that fact alone, everything I just said just makes me kind of. I'm not saying I dislike Jen's character. I think there's potential for it. Maybe for her to like turn around as she learns to kind of self-regulate and understand her emotions better and all that kind of stuff. But that goes to that relatability piece that I just she almost like I don't care for her. She came off pretentious. I get what Disney Plus and the MCU is trying to do with their character. Again, I'm not the demographic for this. I'm going to keep watching for it. I'm going to keep rooting for Jen. But for me, that really ticked me off. Any thoughts on that?
I know, I hear you completely. And again, that's the thing where you're rushing these characters and their storylines and their development, where we haven't really sat down with Bruce. We didn't sit down with him and experience exactly this. His feelings are brushed off 100%. So if you're sticking him in this show and it's like they're fast tracking, like you said, everything that he's gone through, he had a whole binder. This is what you're going to experience with this other guy inside you, or this other person inside you. And they were just like, no, we're going to throw this out. That's fine. And I don't like it. Because if this is going to be phase 4, as we've been saying, it's all about grief. It's about trauma. It's about like, pushing through and doing all of that. He suffered a lot. He suffered so much. He lost his best friend, and we're not even going to explore that. Mm-hmm. We're not going to. And for me, I think this is going to sound so bad that I'm saying this, but the moment where she's like, I'm different because I can phase up and whatever, blah, 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 I can handle my emotions differently. And it's because it felt like saying it that way because she is a woman, that we've had to handle it in that way. And we have a lock on everything. Like, that's still like, it's not strong enough. I feel like it's very convenient just to fast track everything because we're going to get other characters. And this is going to be connected to the rest of the MCU because it already is, more so than other shows. And you're getting like Matt Murdock later. You're going to get like Wong in one episode. So I think that fast tracking it is harming her character development and then pushing Bruce to the side. Like, she's the newbie. I'm going to come in and like, this is my show type of thing. And for her to keep saying it's my show, like, that's the other thing that's also bothering me, you know?
Yeah. So Caitlin says his feelings were brushed off. That statement, once they see you as a monster, I love that so much. Caitlin says Banner spends so long trying to control his inner Hulk, and she can just do it in 1, 2, 3 seconds. He lost his best friend and Nat, and the two and he was closest to, and I hate it, man. And it's like you're brushing aside the drama, like that would be really interesting to kind of deep dive into, but like just the overall lack of true drama, like that I know the show wants to be very lighthearted, but like that lack of drama, like I think that lack of nuance in the show is going to just compound on itself and really make everything feel so generic. This show has been done before. If they're going to make this like a single female legal comedy, like that's just not for me. And I think that's what I love so much about WandaVision and Moon Knight and Miss Marvel is like the complex adult, darker themes, the themes about family. Like it's early, it's just the premiere, but like there's no substance here, and the premiere didn't give me anything to kind of root for. And I think there's an elephant in the room here regarding the MCU, and it is what it is. The elephant I'm talking about is quantity over quality. HBO Max has those issues. And I think that's where we're treading towards. Those are the waters we're treading towards. The show probably didn't need to be made. We'll see. I want to be proven wrong so bad. But again, this is not my demographic.
No, I hear you. And for me, I think that because I was fortunate enough to watch the other 3 episodes that are coming up as press, like for me, watching it is the fact that it keeps it at surface level, and there's so many things that happens with like Jennifer Walters and her identity not explored whatsoever. It's going to be like joke. Like that's all that it is. And then even for her development, it harms it because of everything else that's going on. Yeah, Debs.
Even more so, like the entire phase 4 was about setting up the legends of the MCU, the first 3 phases. Setting up Tony Stark as his legend, setting up Captain America as his legend, setting up
Yeah.
everyone else except for the Incredible Hulk, and he's just a punchline. I just really dislike that concept, just for the sake of rushing into a character like She-Hulk. It didn't work for me.
100%. And also with the fact is like even the standalone Incredible Hulk film that we have isn't even Mark Ruffalo, so it doesn't even feel like it's warranted. Like his 10-year journey, just because they say that we have an Incredible Hulk film, but in continuity it doesn't make sense because it's not the same character. And it's not like we got another like Hulk film because people are like, oh, we're not interested, we don't need him, he's better as a side character. It's like there's so much that you can do with him and explore, and we still don't have that. So I completely agree. It just makes me sad. Yeah.
Even like to show like how poor the writing was, like you blink and it's like Bruce going, oh yeah, your blood is so amazing, it's different and amazing that it fixed my arm, and now my arm is better. Like what?
Right? It's all convenience, all of it. And that spaceship coming out of nowhere, like
well, I'm going to talk about that. When we get to predictions, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, we can get into that now, to be honest. If you don't have any like other negatives to say, because I completely agree with you on those.
Like grade-wise, I'm at like a 6. What are you at?
Yeah, I'm probably at a 6. I am at a 6 just because I liked some parts of Jennifer, and then it's more the humor and the writing. Like that's what's bringing it down for me.
I agree. There's definitely potential in there, but Miss Marvel, Loki, way better premieres. WandaVision, way better premieres.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion.
No, I completely agree. It's more memorable too. Like I already forgot about this. Caitlin's at a 7, which I feel that too. And it's also, I think, the 30 minutes, like so much happens, but also nothing happens that is gonna stick, which sucks because it's like we have 10 episodes of 30 minutes, but is that worth it if it's shorter and if we're not getting anything? You know what I mean? Like that.
I agree.
It could harm it in the end. It doesn't matter if it's 10 episodes, right?
I didn't hate this premiere by any means, but it's mediocre, and it's probably gonna fall, at least if like I'm biased. Like I knew like from the jump, Miss Marvel, I loved it. I loved it.
You feel it.
Yeah, it's just from the jump. This is in that like Hawkeye. Even no, I'll take it back. Even Hawkeye at least got Kate Bishop so right. And I was like, from her to the comics to the screen, it was amazing. We'll see what happens with She-Hulk, but All right, let's go into predictions. So the Sakaar ship. The Sakaar ship is pretty significant. I don't know what Mark Ruffalo's kind of presence it will be in the next few episodes or where this is going, but that was a pretty significant drop for the sake of where this is going. We've not much has been revealed about the Hulk story on Sakaar before Thor Ragnarok. We saw some fights between Hulk and Thor, but that appearance of the Sakaarian ship during that crash scene, I think that's absolutely planting seeds for World War Hulk. That's going to be really, really fun. You think about where the MCU is going. They're definitely going to be pushing the presence of the Illuminati, which is really, really fun. So World War Hulk has a lot to do with the Illuminati. I think we're going to get our Earth 616 version of the Illuminati, and they're probably going to push that pretty forward because we already have the introduction of the mutants in Miss Marvel. We know that Fantastic Four is on the horizon. And you got to think Illuminati, World War Hulk, all of that is in the same event. So I think that's definitely in the works. So that was really exciting to see. I'm really excited to see more of that. That's probably that is probably the most exciting piece. And that was like a blip for like 5 seconds at most.
Because you saw it and it was gone. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I don't know if we're going to see that again. But...
Yeah, and the Hulk is like, I probably should like address that.
Right? It's like, I know what this thing is, but and like, honestly, because I don't want to say much because I've watched the rest of them. And Caitlin's like, Elliot thinks it's Beat Grandmaster.
The son of Hulk. It's probably the son of Hulk. Probably the son of that's definitely where this is going.
That'd be cool. But I do feel like we have 10 episodes. A lot happens in the first 4. So I don't know where, but we're already 6 months later now. That's also true because this placement of the episode, now that we know, just like messes everything up too because they moved it around. And now if it's 6 months later, like what's the timeline? It just feels jumbled for me. I mean, we can get into final thoughts too here. For me, like this premiere, as we've said, not the strongest. The 30 minutes for a sitcom is like I appreciate that they're trying like this different episodic structure. And it does work for the legal aspect, but not for the superhero aspect because they're rushing a lot of things that they could explain and expand upon. I love Jennifer Walters. I do, I have to admit. Tatiana Maslany is great. Honestly, Dibes, if you want to see her in another show, Orphan Black is right up your alley, and I highly recommend it. It's so good. Sci-fi. I think you would really enjoy it.
Cool.
And whoever's watching this, like, literally go watch Orphan Black for her. I hope it gets better. That's all I can say. For me, the fourth wall break needs to be more consistent because that's what's really annoying me too. The jokes have got to land. I don't want it to be cringe. And I get like secondhand embarrassment too watching this show, which isn't supposed to happen like in a bad way. So yeah, I'm sitting at a 6, like you said, with my final grade, and I just hope it gets better. So what are your like final thoughts on this, Dibes, this first episode?
I think there's also a really good chance that we see Bruce Banner kind of lose control, and it's up to Jen to kind of stop him. I think that's a really good bet.
I like that too.
Maybe a setting up like he's the villain, or at some point that would be a nice contrast there.
That'd be cool. Actually, I didn't think of that.
I think that's a pretty good bet.
Because he could spiral.
Yeah,
never know.
Yeah. Final thoughts. I'm going to be optimistic like Caitlin. I'm going to hope that it gets better from here. I'm sure it will. The idea that they moved this episode from 8 to the pilot kind of makes me nervous. I think that's my final thought is, where are we going then? Where, like, to me, that screams they're going to probably do some sort of 30-minute lighthearted sitcom monster of the week type of concept that I'm not exactly sure it's going to stick the landing. So again, like, so if you watch any of our reviews, like I love the MCU when we're addressing darker themes like trauma and disassociation and loss and tragedy and PTSD. Even like a lot of Falcon and the Winter Soldier got that right. But for me, this doesn't seem to have any of that, which is fine. That is totally fine. But I think that's where Phase 4 has found its footing. And I actually liked a lot of those kind of shows. I was a big fan. So that's where I'm at. Those are my final thoughts. Is I'm optimistic. What's the phrase? Like, I'm not cautiously. I'll be cautiously.
Cautiously optimistic. Yeah, which is fair. And like knowing how you're feeling and what I've seen, like we're gonna keep saying this for the next like month or so. Like I'm cautiously optimistic every single week, and it's like, well, hey Cody, thanks for joining us. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I hope it gets better. I want more of her. I think Tatiana's holding her place quite nicely. She's being integrated in the MCU, and she's being like literally thrown into it, and everything's being thrown at her. So, because
what's your name? Brie Larson, right?
Yes.
Tatiana Maslany?
Yes.
They're amazing actresses. Amazing. Why can't they get this right? Like they got Kamala right. I love Kamala. They got Monica Rambeau's character absolutely right. Why can't? It's like the DCU like tripping themselves over with Batman and Superman. They can't get, what are we missing? I don't give a damn about Captain Marvel. They missed the boat on that one.
They
I
did.
just don't want to see them fall in the same trap with Tatiana Maslany, and I'm sure she's an amazing actress. I never saw her in Black. I'm going to watch it.
You need to.
But
She plays like 7 different clones. It's the same person. She plays 7 different
that's
characters on that show. Yeah, I think you'd like it. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah, Dex.
No, it's just I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous that like they're struggling to make these amazing characters relatable.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty general that Captain Marvel was a miss. I think it's so. I don't want to say. I don't know. We'll see.
Cautiously optimistic. That's how we have to say it. I know. Like for me, for Tatiana, she is likable. It's because Tatiana's likable. And that's the thing. She's so likable. And I feel like she's taking this bare bone script, this screenplay that is just so difficult to get through. And she's the one elevating it and holding it on her back. Like that's what I see, is that she's really shining because she's the one who's just bringing everything together, trying to do her best with what they have. And again, like we said, it comes down to the writing. It comes down to the direction, because I don't think this has any direction. I don't think it has a clear-cut style. And that goes back to the consistency, which they do not have in this first episode. And
that fight scene in the courtroom felt so Phase 1. It was like, it was a little cringy. It
Yeah.
It was just dumb.
Because it was her first, like, I was like, okay, sure, this is how we're doing it. But
she just knocks him out like it was no big deal. Like, again, there's just no stakes. So I'm hoping this changes for sure. Because at least like Moon Knight got right, is like they made the series about the hero and the villain. You know, there's a clear direction with that show. You know, with Miss Marvel, it was Kamala and her family. I really appreciate that they doubled down on that. So Loki was about Loki and Sylvie. I don't really have any idea what to guess what we're going to be seeing with She-Hulk.
No, and I think audiences are really going to struggle with it because, like, Disney's really trying to hone in on like the younger demographic, considering what happens in the show with like, and they're also trying to like hit Twitter, and they're trying to hit the critics and all of that. Like that's what it feels like, because she's so open with everything. And Caitlin says, I feel like they needed more time for this show. I agree. And she also says they rushed everything in Phase 4. And I completely agree, because I feel like with some characters, they've been backtracking to retcon certain things and fix certain things. Others are passing the baton quite nicely, you know? But now in this case, it's like, I don't think her show's, I don't want to say warranted. I don't want to say that. But it does feel that way.
That's kind of what I've been saying, is like quality over quantity over quality is kind of the the thing that, I mean, I don't know how much money they're making. It's the MCU. They're pretty much cemented themselves into like 4 movies a year. Like now it's like how many shows per year? It's crazy.
It's nuts. Yeah.
And
it's the fact too, Dibes, that we sit here like every single show and it's like, oh, it's good for what it is. We're going into Phase 5. We can't keep saying it's good for what it is, you know? And I feel like bad saying that, but we, you know, guys have to like make it more polished. Let the script be better than what it is. Like,
I agree.
I don't know. Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts about She-Hulk future? You know, anything else?
No, I mean, where does Abomination fit in this? I have no idea. So we don't really, like you said earlier, like this premiere, they threw a lot down your throat, but nothing happened. So I honestly have no idea. It's obviously going to be about She-Hulk learning to be in her body and confident and learn to control her emotions, and that's what I would predict. But like, who is the villain? Like, who is like, what is kind of the main bulk of the theme of the show? I have no idea. I could not tell you.
I feel like we're not gonna know for a while.
Oh, really?
I'm telling you, like I'm still sitting there, like I don't know what's happening. So. Yeah, and I'm like, I have to wait a month now, and it's like I can't wait to like hear what you guys have to say, and like we'll be here on the Suit Up Geeks every single Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, to recap She-Hulk. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you, Caitlin in the comments, and Cody. Thanks for joining us. So what we have right now, currently, we did our MCU moments, best MCU moments draft last night. It's on the channel. A lot of stuff and things happened.
It was a doozy.
It was a doozy. Some things weren't picked. I mean, Dives had a list of 71 choices and they were not picked. So we have a lot of things to discuss. We may do a stream to recap what happened on our draft. The polls will be going up soon over at the Suit Up Geeks on Twitter, so keep it locked on here. We also have our House of Cinema podcast, and it's going to be our Prey review. I know, Caitlin, I know we weren't there at the draft, but we made our own draft at home.
Caitlin, I was sitting and just yelling while watching.
Yeah, it was intense.
I was yelling behind the scenes because I was like, "What? like you're gonna go with that? Like, believe me, I have a lot to say about some of the selections."
Yeah.
Caitlin said, "I thought you would." So I won. Nice flex.
Yeah.
I'm already in the Tournament of Champions for season 2. I would have loved to be. And again, I had a list of 75 moments, and I think probably only like 20 or 25 were taken. Like my list is nuts. And I don't know. I think it's a good list. And I was just really shocked at some of the selections for sure. Some of them, like a lot of them were not on my list. And there's a lot of Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Thor, the Dark World. Like it was just weird. It was a doozy. It was a doozy of a show.
Oh yeah, and we'll definitely. I think we have to do a stream. There's no way we have to comment on it. And there are so many great scenes, Caitlin. Like I could have picked everything from The Winter Soldier because I love that movie. There were so many that weren't picked. Yeah,
nobody picked the elevator scene. It's legit like one of my favorite scenes.
Before we start, does anyone want to get out? Like nothing. How? Anyways, we'll have a whole stream just based on reacting to that draft.
That was on my list, Caitlin. That was on my list. I love that scene of Black Widow just going crazy. That was an awesome moment.
It was so good. I can't believe it. That's why we're gonna have that live stream. So keep it locked. Turn on notifications. Okay, please turn our notifications on because we're gonna definitely do that. We did a Prey review, all 4 of us, with Ryan hosting for the House of Cinema. So that's gonna be up this weekend. Like I said, the polls for the draft will be up within either tomorrow or Saturday. So keep it locked on the Suit Up Geeks on Instagram and Twitter. Then fire is coming on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. We will have our House of the Dragon review at 10 p.m. Eastern, right after the premiere on Sunday at 9 p.m. on HBO. So like I said, please subscribe, like, comment, join us, follow us. We have so much stuff coming up. So thank you guys for joining tonight. That was Dives. This way. That was Dives. I'm Amanda, and we will see you guys next time.